All right, so today for my presentation for communications class, I am going to be talking about nonverbal communication. So to start, we're going to talk about the concepts of communication. When we think about the communication, we often tend to think of verbal aspects. Those examples may include friendly conversations at parties, uniform conversations with colleagues, and brief conversations with strangers and acquaintances. But studies show that between 65 and 93% of the total meaning of a message is determined by nonverbal signs. Nonverbal communication. By understanding the nonverbal cues of communication process, we become more aware of the world around us and the thousands of messages we're exposed to every single day. Nonverbal communication, although seemingly unimportant to our means of communicating with one another, is an essential part of communication. So what are we here to talk about? Today I am here to just give you an overview about nonverbal communication. First thing I'm going to look at today is the concept of nonverbal communication and its relevance to the world around us. Then I'm going to look at the three systems of nonverbal cues, and I'm going to wrap up by identifying nonverbal communication and how we can apply this to the world around us. So what is nonverbal communication? Nonverbal communication is identified as the nonverbal cues of communication that help us to interpret the messages that we see in our day-to-day lives. These may include facial expressions, eye contact, body language, or tone of voice. Having a solid understanding of nonverbal communication is an essential part of our relationships with friends, family, coworkers, as well as with our romantic partners. Nonverbal communication plays a significant role in our lives as it can improve a person's ability to relate, engage, and establish meaningful interactions in everyday life. A better understanding of this type of communication may lead people to develop stronger relationships with others. Understanding the gestures, facial expressions, and body posture of others during communication can help us to better understand one another's intentions and feelings, which can be applied to both friendly and to romantic relationships. By focusing our attention on others' nonverbal cues, we become better at understanding the way it relates to their verbal communication. Because nonverbal communication is often instinctive and typically not easy to fake, it's generally more indicative of a person's true feelings. So now we're going to take a look at the systems of nonverbal communication. We've already established the main concept of it, but let's just take a look at the more technical terms and the ways in which nonverbal communication can be categorized. So the three systems of nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication on a more technical level can be divided into three systems. These systems are the visual communication system, the auditory communication system, and the invisible communication system. The visual communication system. The visual communication system is visual codes of nonverbal communication, include the type of nonverbal communication that we can see, such as body movements, the use of space, and personal objects such as clothing or jewelry. These are also known as kinesics, proxemics, and artifacts. Taking a look at kinesics, kinesics include body movements such as gestures, posture, eye contact, and facial expressions. These instinctive body movements can be an essential part of deciphering the true feelings and intentions of those whom we communicate with. Proxemics. Proxemics refer to the use of space, how much of it we take up, how it's arranged, and whose space it is. The amount of space we put between ourselves and others is a telling factor of how close our relationships are. Proxemics can be divided into four relational distances, the first being intimate distance, which is 0 to 18 inches. This distance is usually between close friends and romantic partners. The second distance is personal distance, which is 18 inches to 4 feet. This is often used between friends and acquaintances. The third is social distance, which is 4 to 12 feet, which is often used in business interactions. And the fourth and final one is public distance, which is 12 to 25 feet and is usually used in relation to public ceremonies, lectures, concerts, and political rallies. Artifacts. Artifacts are the personal objects we use to communicate something about ourselves, such as clothing, jewelry, toys, and other personal accessories that all reveal information about our identities and interests. The way we present ourselves through our artifacts can communicate information about our gender, our age, social status, group affiliations, interests, and values. Next, we're going to take a look at the auditory communication system, which is also known as paralinguistics. Paralinguistics are the vocal aspects of nonverbal communication, such as rate, volume, pitch, and emphasis. And although the system may sound like the verbal aspect of communication, it's actually related to language that is oral but not verbal. Examples of this may include rate, so how fast somebody talks, volume, the loudness or quietness that can be heard in someone's voice, pitch, the highness or lowness and shifting in the pitch of a voice, inflection, which is the manipulation of pitch, pauses, which are stops and hesitations in speech, and pronunciation, which could be the correct or incorrect pronunciation or saying of words. The rise in recent decades of non-face-to-face communication through email, text messaging, and social media led to the use of emoticons as a substitute of paralanguage. So as our communication has adapted with the changes of technology, nonverbal communication has shifted with it, which when we use emojis in our text or social media posts, we actually help convey our messages in a nonverbal sense. The third system we're going to take a look at is the invisible communication system. The invisible communication includes types of nonverbal communication that we can't see, which are perceptions of time, the sense of smell, the use of touch, environmental factors, and technology. The ways in which we're raised and the things we're exposed to establish our relationships with such things and reflect in our interactions with others. Chronemics. Chronemics are how humans organize structure and time, and the messages conveyed as a result of this organization. So our personalities and our lifestyles help to dictate how we organize and view our time. Olfactics. Olfactics are the use of our sense of smell to gather information. Olfactics play a role in how we select romantic partners, produce bodily reactions to our surroundings, and they can bring back memories from our past experiences. An example of this could be you wearing a certain perfume or a certain cologne and then being broken up with while wearing that cologne. Whenever you wear it, you may think back on that negative memory. Haptics. Haptics are the study of communicating via touch. Physical touch has actually been proven to be an essential part of our development and our ability to communicate. Environmental factors. Environmental factors consist of surroundings that influence how we think, feel, and behave as we communicate with others. And finally, technology. In modern times, technology stands as one of our sole outlets of communication. Text messages, emails, video calls, and social media act as an outlet for feelings, emotions, and intentions. So now that we've taken a look at the overview of nonverbal communication and the ways in which it can be divided into the 3 different systems, let's take a look at how we can apply this to our own lives. Applying our knowledge of nonverbal communication can be a surprisingly easy way to determine the feelings and intentions of those whom we communicate with. Paying close attention to eye contact, body posture, and facial expressions can be a telling factor of the feelings and intentions of just about anyone that we communicate with. So avoiding eye contact, shifting body posture, and uncomfortable facial expressions during a conversation could be telltale factors of somebody who could be lying. Now I'm going to look at how we can apply the auditory communication system. Similar to applying the visual communication system, paying attention to factors such as tone, pitch, and volume can help to gauge the intentions of the conversation. For example, someone who speaks with a high-pitched voice or at a quick rate may be exhibiting feelings of anger or excitement. And now applying the invisible communication system. This system is slightly more difficult to navigate, but it can allow an individual to determine feelings and intentions. An example of this could be how someone reacts to physical touch. This could hint towards a negative or a positive experience in their past or in their adolescence. So now we're going to wrap things up. I'm just going to come to my conclusion on this whole thing. An overview of this is throughout this presentation, I reviewed the technical, relational, and applicable factors of nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication, although seemingly unimportant to our means of communicating with one another, is an essential part of communication. In conclusion, nonverbal communication plays a significant role in the way which we communicate with one another. By educating ourselves on the concept of nonverbal communication, we are able to better understand one another and understand each other's true feelings and intentions. Thank you guys for listening. Here is just a quick look at my references, and that is my presentation for this week.